Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're diving into a financial philosophy that pretty much flips the script on everything you've ever been taught about saving. It's called Die with Zero, and it's all about one massive idea: optimizing your life, not just your bank account.
And this quote right here from author Bill Perkins is the absolute heart of it. We spend so much of our lives worried about this future where we might not have enough money that we totally miss the bigger and frankly more terrifying risk, getting to the end and realizing we have a life full of unlived experiences.
Perkins has this brilliant analogy for this. Just imagine you spend a whole day at an arcade. You're playing games, you're racking up 1,000,000 tickets, and then at the end of the day, you just walk out. You leave all those tickets sitting on the counter. He says that's exactly what we're doing when we work our entire lives for money that we never get around to converting into actual joy and memories. Okay, so let's really get into it. What does it actually mean to die with zero? Because I know it sounds a little reckless, right? But it's not. In fact, it's a super strategic way to look at your life. See, the key here is that this is a plan to maximize your net fulfillment. So instead of just counting dollars, the real goal is to turn that money into a life that's rich with positive experiences. Money stops being the goal and starts being what it should be, a tool. And this table just lays it out so clearly. Traditional saving is all about delaying gratification, right? Suffer now so you can enjoy some far-off future reward called retirement. Die with Zero says, whoa, hold on. Your entire life is the reward, and you should be thoughtfully funding it the whole way through.
Perkins says we're all playing this constant optimization game with these three things. They're our core resources. We trade our time for money, we use that money to create experiences, and all the while, our health is this ticking clock that determines which experiences are even on the table. The goal is to balance all three to get the absolute most out of the one life we've got.
So if we're trying to balance health, time, and money, the next question is pretty obvious. When should you spend them? And this is where the strategy gets really fascinating, because it's not just about what you experience. It's about when. The timing is absolutely everything. You know how money in an investment account compounds over time? Well, experiences do the exact same thing for your happiness. Perkins calls this the memory dividend. That trip you take in your 20s, it doesn't just give you a week of fun. It pays you back for decades in stories, in shared laughter, in memories. It's an investment in your life's joy.
And this is why he says life is kind of like a game of Tetris. You have to fit the right pieces in at the right time. A physically demanding backpacking trip through Europe, that's a piece that fits perfectly in your 20s. Trying to cram that same trip into your 70s, it's probably not going to fit. But, a beautiful stay at the Yosemite Valley Lodge, that might just be the perfect piece for that later season.
Okay, I know what you're thinking, but what about my kids? I'm saving all this money to leave them a big inheritance. And that's a huge motivation for a lot of people. Well, the data behind this whole philosophy might just make you rethink that entire strategy.
Just think about it logically for a second. When is a financial windfall going to be more of a game changer? When you're 28, you're drowning in student debt, and you're trying to scrape together a down payment for a house? Or when you're 60 and you're already pretty financially stable? Well, there's your answer. 60. The data shows the average person who gets an inheritance is 60 years old. At that point, they're usually at their own peak earning years, and they're already thinking about their own retirement. The money just has way less impact. Perkins, well, he puts it pretty bluntly. The point is to give that money when it can have a real, profound effect on someone's life, when it can fund an education, or help start a business, or get them into their first home. Those are the things that pay their own dividends for years and years. So the Die with Zero approach is simple. Give while you're living. Not only is it way more impactful for them, but you actually get to be there. You get to see the joy it creates. And there are really smart, tax-efficient ways to do it, like using the annual gift exclusion.
Now, this all sounds really great in theory, but it's totally fair to ask, isn't this kind of risky? What about running out of money? What about huge, unexpected medical bills? A real Die with Zero plan is about being intentional, not naive.
And you absolutely have to look at both sides of this. The biggest con, the biggest fear, is real: outliving your money, especially with healthcare costs and inflation. So this strategy isn't a free-for-all. It requires incredibly careful planning, it means hedging against risks, and it means you have to keep updating your plan as your life changes.
So let's be super clear, this is not a license to go on a wild spending spree and drain your 401k. It's a call to stop living on financial autopilot. It's about questioning that default mode of just endlessly accumulating, and instead asking yourself a better question. How can I use the resources I have, my health, my time, and my money, to build the most fulfilling life I possibly can?
And really, that's what this all boils down to. This whole philosophy leaves us with a really powerful question. We all have one, right? That trip, that hobby, that adventure that we filed away for someday. Die with Zero challenges you to open up that file, to look at the timeline of your life and ask yourself, does someday maybe need to be right now?